You have been manipulated more times than you can count, not by villains, not by masterminds, but by people who never even knew they were doing it, by a pause in a conversation that made you explain yourself, by a silence that made you doubt reinforced decisions you were certain of, by warmth that appeared only when you were about to walk away, by distance that made you reach without understanding why. Manipulation did not enter your life when someone lied to you. It entered when someone controlled what you noticed. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology had a name. He did not study monsters, he studied structure. He watched men lose power not because they were weak, but because they were visible, predictable, explainable. And he watched others rise, not through force, but through position. This is the truth most people refuse to face. You are not manipulated because someone is evil. You are manipulated because power naturally organizes human behavior. Someone always sets the pace. Someone always defines the emotional temperature. Someone always decides what is normal and what is unacceptable. The moment you stop doing that, someone else does it for you. Most men believe manipulation is something you do. They imagine tactics, tricks, lines, clever moves. They are wrong. Manipulation is something you become embedded in the moment you fail to govern perception. You don't need to control people. You only need to control the environment they interpret reality through. That is why the calm man wins arguments he never enters. That is why silence reshapes desire more than reassurance ever could. That is why the one who needs nothing is always the one others bend toward. Tonight, you are not learning tricks. You are being shown 10 mechanisms, ancient, amoral, unavoidable, that already operate in every relationship, every hierarchy, every exchange of attention. The difference after tonight is simple. You will no longer be inside the mechanism without knowing where the levers are. The word manipulation disgusts people for the same reason power frightens them. It exposes the lie that choice is pure. Machiavelli never condemned manipulation because he never separated it from reality. To him, power was not something immoral, it was something structural. People do not respond to truth. They respond to position. They respond to who reacts, who waits, who explains, who remains still. Meaning is not discovered. Meaning is assigned, and whoever assigns meaning controls outcomes without resistance. This is why manipulation does not feel like force when it works. The most effective manipulation feels like intuition attraction. Something just feels off. I don't know why, but I respect him. The victim never feels attacked. They feel guided. Most men fail here because they believe morality lives in intention. Machiavelli knew better. Morality lives in results. You can act with kindness and still destroy respect. You can act with restraint and still be called cruel. You can act with honesty and still lose power. The world does not reward goodness. It rewards alignment with human nature. And human nature obeys hierarchy before it obeys logic. This is why over-explaining lowers status, availability invites entitlement, predictability kills tension, emotional transparency erodes authority. Not because these things are wrong, but because they collapse structure. Manipulation at its core is not about control. It is about orientation. You do not move people. You position yourself so they move around you. Machiavelli's most dangerous students were never tyrants. They were calm men who let others reveal themselves while revealing nothing in return. They understood something most people never will. Power does not shout. Power does not chase. Power does not justify itself. Power waits, and the world arranges itself accordingly. The 10 techniques you are about to hear are not tools for domination. They are descriptions of how dominance already operates. Ignore them, and you will always feel like something invisible is working against you. Understand them, and you stop fighting ghosts. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop begging for alignment. You stop needing approval to move. And when that happens, manipulation no longer feels like something you do. It becomes something others experience in your presence. Technique 1. Frame sovereignty. Before manipulation ever becomes visible, something far more important happens in silence. The frame is set. Whoever controls the frame controls reality. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology gave it a name. In courts, the prince who defined what mattered never needed to argue what was true. Everyone else argued inside his boundaries. Most people lose before they speak because they accept another person's frame by default. They explain, they justify, they defend, they react. The manipulator never does. Frame sovereignty means you decide what the interaction is about, what is important, what is ignored, what earns response, what dies in silence. This is not dominance through aggression. It is dominance through non-participation. When someone challenges you, tests you, or pressures you, the instinctive response is to answer. That instinct is weakness. Answers validate the other person's authority to question you. The sovereign response is different. You do not argue the accusation. You do not correct the misunderstanding. You do not chase clarity. You either reframe or withdraw. Reframing looks like this. You respond as if their concern is irrelevant, premature, or based on an assumption you never agreed to. Calmly, almost casually. Withdrawal looks like this. You remove attention, slow responses, or disengage without explanation. Both send the same message to the primitive brain. Your frame does not govern me. Humans are hierarchical by nature. When someone realizes their frame has no effect on you, the hierarchy adjusts automatically. They either rise to meet you or submit to your reality. This is why explanations are fatal. An explanation says, your interpretation matters more than my position. Machiavelli warned that the ruler who explains invites judgment. Judgment invites resistance. Resistance invites collapse. Frame sovereignty eliminates resistance by never engaging it. You do not say, "That's not what I meant." You behave as if their interpretation is irrelevant. You do not say, "Let me clarify." You let silence clarify for you. Over time, people adapt. They stop challenging. They start observing. They begin to calibrate their behavior around yours, not because you demanded it, but because the environment you created required it. Power does not announce itself. It defines the room and lets others adjust. Technique 2. Selective reinforcement. Most people reward behavior emotionally, automatically, and recklessly. They smile when they feel pleased. They withdraw when they feel hurt. They explain when they feel misunderstood. This is why they are predictable and therefore powerless. Selective reinforcement is the art of conditioning without announcement. Machiavelli understood that loyalty is never commanded, it is trained. Courts did not obey princes because of fear alone. They obeyed because rewards appeared selectively, never consistently, and never on request. The human nervous system is wired the same way. What is rewarded repeats. What is ignored adapts or dies. The mistake most people make is rewarding intention instead of behavior. They reward effort, they reward apologies, they reward words. The manipulator rewards outcomes only. Affection is given only when behavior aligns. Attention appears only when standards are met. Warmth arrives after compliance, not pleading. And crucially, punishment is never emotional. There is no anger, no lectures, no dramatic withdrawal. There is simply absence. Silence where attention used to live. Distance where warmth once existed. This is devastating because the human brain is intolerant of pattern disruption. When a reward that once appeared reliably becomes unpredictable, the brain does not detach. It obsesses. Variable reinforcement is neurologically addictive. Casinos are built on it. Social media feeds run on it. Attachment bonds fracture and deepen because of it. When you respond inconsistently, but principled, the other person begins scanning themselves constantly. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? How do I get back to that version of him? You never tell them. You never explain the rules. You never confirm their guesses. You simply allow correct behavior to be rewarded and incorrect behavior to meet neutral emptiness. This works because humans fear loss of status more than rejection. They are not reacting to pain. They are reacting to displacement. They feel themselves slipping from favor. Machiavelli warned that generosity must never be habitual. What is expected is no longer valued. What is rare becomes sacred. Selective reinforcement turns your attention into currency, your approval into gravity, your presence into leverage. You are not cruel, you are not cold, you are precise, and precision is what makes control invisible. Technique 3. Controlled ambiguity. Clarity is comforting. And comfort is the enemy of control. Most people believe clarity builds trust. Machiavelli knew clarity builds equality, and equality dissolves hierarchy. Controlled ambiguity is the technique of never fully revealing your position while remaining calm, consistent, and present enough to avoid suspicion. You do not lie. You do not contradict yourself. You simply withhold final definition. The human mind cannot tolerate unresolved meaning. When it lacks certainty, it fills the gap with imagination, and imagination is far more powerful than facts. This is why unanswered questions echo longer than answered ones, why unresolved tension outlives resolution, why silence speaks louder than explanation. In courts, princes who revealed their intentions too early lost leverage. Enemies adjusted, allies relaxed, the mystery collapsed. The same law governs psychology. When your intentions are partially obscured, people project their hopes onto you. They interpret neutrality as depth. They overvalue small signals. A delayed reply becomes, "He's busy with something important." A calm reaction becomes, "He's emotionally superior." A non-answer becomes, "He knows something I don't." You never correct these assumptions. You never confirm them. You allow others to build the myth themselves. This is critical. The mind protects what it creates. Once someone invests effort interpreting you, they become attached to the meaning they assigned. You are no longer just a person. You are a puzzle they don't want anyone else to solve. Controlled ambiguity requires discipline. You must resist oversharing, clarifying emotional states, explaining motives, resolving tension prematurely. You speak clearly about actions, but remain undefined in intentions. "I'll handle it. We'll see." That's interesting. These are not evasions, they are anchors without conclusions. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must be predictable in values, but unpredictable in movement. The same applies here. Your standards are clear, your direction is not. This creates asymmetry. Others adjust to you. They wait, they seek cues. You remain internally stable while externally unreadable. And unreadability breeds authority, not because people fear you, but because they cannot place you, and what cannot be placed cannot be controlled. Technique 4. Emotional scarcity. Nothing loses value faster than what is always available. Machiavelli understood this before modern psychology gave it names. Abundance creates entitlement. Scarcity creates reverence. Emotional scarcity is not coldness. It is selective availability. Most people make their emotions public property. They explain how they feel. They reassure on demand. They give comfort automatically. And in doing so, they destroy leverage. When emotional access is unlimited, it becomes background noise. When it is rare, it becomes currency. This technique works because the human nervous system is wired to value what is intermittent, not constant. Dopamine does not spike from certainty, it spikes from unpredictability. That is why inconsistent rewards create stronger attachment than consistent ones. Rare approval outweighs frequent praise. Calm distance is more magnetic than constant warmth. Emotional scarcity means you do not react to everything. You do not soothe every insecurity. You do not explain every silence. You remain emotionally present, but not porous. When someone opens up, you listen, but you don't collapse into their emotions. When they seek reassurance, you offer calm, not emotional labor. When they withdraw, you do not chase. This creates a subtle imbalance. They feel more from you than you give back, and imbalance creates gravity. Important distinction. Scarcity is not punishment. Scarcity is self-regulation. You are not withholding to control. You are unavailable because your emotional energy is not infinite. Machiavelli warned that rulers who indulged the people endlessly lost authority. The crowd came to expect constant access, constant empathy, constant concessions. The ruler who remained composed, selective, and measured inspired far deeper loyalty. In psychology, the same applies. When your emotional presence must be earned, people behave differently around you. They choose words carefully. They hesitate before crossing boundaries. They feel the weight of your attention when they receive it. Your calm becomes rare. Your approval becomes meaningful. Your presence becomes grounding. And when you finally do offer warmth, it lands harder than any constant affection ever could, because scarcity does not starve desire, it concentrates it. Technique 5. Frame dominance. Whoever controls the frame controls the outcome. Machiavelli never argued loudly. He defined reality, then let others react inside it. Frame dominance is not about force, it is about context. Most people enter conversations already kneeling. They ask permission with their tone. They justify their preferences. They negotiate their boundaries as if they are suggestions. That is submission disguised as politeness. Frame dominance means you decide what is normal, acceptable, important, and trivial, and you never argue about it. You don't debate your standards. You don't defend your choices. You don't explain why something matters to you. You simply act as if your frame is the default reality. Psychologically, humans adapt to the strongest frame in the room, not the loudest, not the angriest, the calmest and most consistent. Example, if someone challenges your boundary and you explain it, you've already lost frame. If you restate it calmly and move on, the frame holds. Frame dominance shows up in small moments. You decide when conversations end. You redirect topics without apology. You treat disrespect as confusion, not offense. You refuse to emotionally react to attempts at control. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't resist them. You ignore the premise of their attack. This is critical. Never fight inside someone else's frame. If they accuse, you don't defend. If they test, you don't justify. If they pressure, you don't negotiate. You respond as if their attempt never defined reality to begin with. Machiavelli observed that princes who responded emotionally to insults empowered their enemies. Princes who acted as if the insult was irrelevant reduced the attacker to nothing. The same law applies here. Frame dominance creates a psychological hierarchy. They adjust. You remain unchanged. Over time, people stop pushing, not because you are aggressive, but because their attempts never move you. Your reactions become predictable in one way only. You are calm, you are consistent, you are unmoved, and that stability becomes authority, because the person who does not need agreement does not need approval. They define the game. Technique 6. Controlled ambiguity. Clarity comforts. Ambiguity controls. Machiavelli understood that people do not submit to what they fully understand. They submit to what they cannot completely map. Controlled ambiguity is the art of being intentionally unreadable without being confusing. Most people overshare. They explain motivations. They reveal intentions. They narrate their inner world like a diary. That feels honest. It is also strategic suicide. When people know exactly where you stand, they stop paying attention. When they cannot fully locate you, their mind fills the gaps, usually in your favor. Controlled ambiguity does not mean lying. It means selective opacity. You answer questions without answering them completely. You reveal facts without revealing meaning. You allow access without offering ownership. Example, when asked, "What are you looking for?" The weak answer is a detailed roadmap. The dominant answer is a calm, open-ended statement that reveals nothing final. Ambiguity creates cognitive engagement. The brain hates unresolved patterns, so it keeps returning to them. That is why mystery outlives attraction. Machiavelli noted that rulers who revealed their full strategy invited rebellion. Those who acted decisively without explanation inspired fear, speculation, and obedience. Psychologically, ambiguity shifts power because the other person invests mental energy decoding you. You gain time to observe without committing. They reveal themselves while you remain undefined. This technique is especially powerful when paired with consistency. Your behavior is stable. Your intentions are not fully disclosed. People trust what feels stable. They chase what feels incomplete. Controlled ambiguity also protects you. When expectations are unclear, you cannot be accused of violating them. You never promised, you never defined. You simply existed as you are. Important rule: never use ambiguity to manipulate emotionally fragile people. Use it to maintain leverage, not to exploit weakness. When done correctly, people feel intrigued, not anxious, drawn, not confused, engaged, not desperate. They lean in, they ask more, they invest. And the more they invest trying to understand you, the more value they unconsciously assign to you. Because humans believe, if it occupies my mind, it must be important. Technique 7. Strategic withdrawal. Power is not taken by advancing. It is often taken by leaving at the right moment. Strategic withdrawal is not avoidance. It is timed absence with intent. Machiavelli observed that rulers who withdrew forces at the peak of expectation created more obedience than those who pressed forward. Why? Because absence creates contrast, and contrast creates value. Most people stay too long. They explain too much. They linger after their influence has already peaked. This destroys leverage. Strategic withdrawal means you remove access while demand is still rising, not after it collapses. Psychologically, withdrawal triggers 3 forces. Loss aversion. People fear losing what they just began to value. Narrative disruption. Their mental story breaks, forcing re-evaluation, recalibration. They reassess your importance without your presence. The key is timing. Withdraw too early and you appear unstable. Withdraw too late and you appear replaceable. The correct moment is when your presence is expected, your value is felt, your absence is unexplained. You do not announce the withdrawal. You do not dramatize it. You simply become unavailable without apology. No anger, no justification, no farewell speech. Silence is not punishment, it is structure. Strategic withdrawal forces the other person to confront a question. Why did access disappear? And when the mind lacks an answer, it supplies one. Usually that answer is, I misjudged their value. This technique resets hierarchies. Those who chase after withdrawal signal dependence. Those who remain calm signal sovereignty. Machiavelli warned that rulers who feared losing favor clung tighter. Those who accepted loss without reaction were pursued. Important rule: withdrawal must be paired with internal independence. If you withdraw while emotionally dependent, your behavior will leak anxiety. People feel that instantly. True strategic withdrawal feels clean, grounded, unemotional. You are not trying to be missed, you are simply not available, and paradoxically, that absence often speaks louder than any presence ever could. Technique 8. Value inversion. Most people try to increase their value by adding more effort, more availability, more explanation. Machiavelli understood the opposite law. Value rises when access becomes conditional and effort flows upward. Value inversion is the technique of reversing who invests, who proves, and who adapts without ever demanding it. In normal dynamics, people assume the one who wants more should give more, the one who cares more should adjust more. That assumption quietly assigns lower rank. Value inversion flips this structure. Instead of asking, how can I impress them? The frame becomes, do their actions justify continued access to me? This is not arrogance, it is hierarchy awareness. The moment someone senses they must earn your time, attention, or approval, their perception of your value increases because effort always follows perceived importance. Here's the key distinction. You do not announce standards. You live them silently. You do not say, I expect respect. You respond to disrespect with reduced access. You do not say, I deserve more effort. You stop over-investing and allow the imbalance to reveal itself. Psychologically, this creates discomfort. Humans hate imbalance, especially when they suspect they are receiving more than they deserve. That discomfort produces action. Value inversion works because effort creates attachment, investment creates justification, justification creates desire. The one who invests begins rewriting reality. I must care, or I wouldn't be doing this. This is why gifts, reassurance, and over-availability backfire when given freely. They remove the need for justification. Machiavelli noted that rulers who gave favors without cost were despised. Those who made access selective were revered. Important rule: never invert value through punishment. Punishment creates resistance. Instead, invert value through non-reaction. You remain calm. You remain consistent. You simply stop giving what is no longer earned. No speeches, no ultimatums, no emotional displays. Value inversion is quiet, almost invisible. But once the inversion occurs, the dynamic rarely returns to its original state, because the mind has already reclassified who stands higher in the order. Technique 9. Controlled revelation. Most people believe intimacy is created by revealing everything: thoughts, fears, history, intentions. Machiavelli understood a darker, more precise truth. Intimacy is not created by revelation, it is created by restraint. Controlled revelation is the art of disclosing just enough to create gravity while preserving mystery that keeps the other mind leaning forward. The human psyche assigns value to what must be uncovered, not what is freely handed over. When everything is known, curiosity dies. When something remains unknowable, attachment forms. This is why oversharing destroys attraction. It collapses tension. It eliminates imagination. It signals emotional dependence. Controlled revelation works by sequencing truth, not hiding it. You are not deceptive. You are deliberate. You allow access in layers, and each layer must be earned through time, consistency, and behavior. Here's the principle. The speed of disclosure determines perceived power. The faster someone reveals their inner world, the lower their perceived leverage becomes. Not because vulnerability is weak, but because unearned vulnerability signals need. Machiavelli observed that rulers who revealed intentions too early lost advantage. Those who spoke last controlled the room. In human dynamics, the same law applies. You share experiences, not confessions; observations, not insecurities; direction, not dependency. You let silence do half the work. When asked personal questions, you answer clearly but incompletely. Enough to satisfy, not enough to finish the story. This forces the other mind to fill gaps with imagination. Project meaning: invest curiosity. Imagination is more powerful than information. Another rule: never reveal emotion before it is reciprocated. Emotion disclosed prematurely becomes leverage against you. Emotion disclosed after reciprocity becomes bond. Controlled revelation is not cold, it is measured warmth. You are present, you are engaged, but there is always a sense that something remains behind the door. That door is what creates pull. Once someone believes they must stay longer, behave better, or rise higher to gain deeper access, they begin climbing without being asked. That climb is attachment. Technique 10. Exit authority. Every form of power rests on a single, brutal asymmetry: who can leave and who cannot. Exit authority is the highest form of leverage because it operates without words, threats, or force. It is the quiet knowledge that you will walk away without hesitation if the terms are violated. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. The ruler who needed allies was controlled by them. The ruler who could withdraw became untouchable. In human dynamics, exit authority is what separates influence from dependency. Most people signal attachment the moment tension appears. They explain, they negotiate, they reassure, they stay, and in staying, they surrender power. Exit authority is not dramatic disappearance. It is the calm ability to disengage without emotional turbulence. You do not announce it, you do not threaten it, you embody it. The moment someone senses that, you are fulfilled without them. Your identity does not hinge on their approval. Your absence is not a punishment but a default option. Their behavior changes, not consciously, biologically, because the nervous system ranks humans by replaceability. The one who can leave occupies the higher position in the hierarchy. Here's the paradox: exit authority only works if you are genuinely willing to exit. Any bluff collapses the moment it's tested. This is why Machiavellian power begins internally. If you fear loss, you cannot command respect. If you accept loss, respect organizes itself around you. Exit authority manifests in small ways. You don't overstay conversations, you end interactions first. You don't chase closure. You don't re-explain boundaries. When a line is crossed, you do not escalate emotion. You reduce access. Silence replaces argument. Distance replaces drama. This creates a psychological vacuum. The other mind begins recalculating. Why wasn't I worth the effort? What changed? What did I misjudge? And here's the final rule. Never return to a dynamic that required you to threaten leaving. If exit authority must be explained, it no longer exists. True power is felt before it is tested. When someone knows you can disappear and still sleep peacefully, they behave accordingly. That is exit authority.